Hey everybody, I haven't talked about this guitar that much. I have a video on the channel called my Telecaster collection, and this is in there, but and I played it a couple times, but I haven't ever done really a proper review of this excellent guitar. It's a made in Japan 2016 Fender Special Run Blue Flower Telecaster TL69 for 1969. It's a 1969 style guitar. I hope you'll consider watching this review. Yeah, I don't have too much to say about it except I bought this several years ago, and I got it for $700, and that's because it had these dings in it. I bought it supposedly as new, and I'm pretty sure it was the last one in the country, but I bought it as new. And when I got it from Guitar Center, it had that one ding, and I think there are a couple others in there, but that one in particular, I called the guy and I said, "You call that new?" And it was, I think it had been on their floor, and that's probably why it was on their floor like that, and no one had ever bought it. And I actually bought two of these to kind of A/B them, and Guitar Center was good. They let me do that. And the damaged one played a lot better. But it's a made in Japan guitar, and you got the made in Japan on there. That's where it is. And I'm so glad that, I've got another Japanese guitar, and somebody scraped off the made in Japan that's up there on the headstock. It makes me so mad. I didn't even notice it for years. But anyway, it says made in Japan there. And some of you might know there was a crafted in Japan. And I'm not sure of the difference. There are two main Fender factories that you always hear about with guitar. And I think most of the Fenders that are associated with Fender Japan are made in the Fujigen factory, although there is another factory that I think makes guitars too. They both have excellent reputations. That Fujigen factory, I think, is the kind of the premier guitar factory in Japan. They also make Ibanez's. They make a bunch of guitars, I think, but they make these, and this came out in 2016. And it was a tribute to a 1969 release, which was the Blue Flower Telecaster. It's a tribute to a 1969 kind of flower power hippie era guitars back in the period when people were painting their guitar. You know, Eric Clapton had the Fool, George Harrison had his painted, and it was also flower power. So I guess in 1969 they released this. I don't know how well it did, but the other one they released in conjunction with this, that's kind of a sister guitar to this one, is the Pink Paisley, and that's I think Brad Paisley plays that one, right? Or some version of the Pink Paisley, and James Burton and Elvis Presley's band played that famous Pink Paisley. So that one, I think that one has a little more cachet. But I'm a hippie at heart. I've always kind of liked the flowers and flower power. I don't know. That's how I interpret the flowers. And I have had a couple people make not so flattering remarks about this guitar. Even had a couple people challenge my masculinity, if you can imagine such an absurd thing, when they saw this. Said, why do you have a guitar with flowers on it? But if you're wondering, it's just the hippie 1969, you know, that was Blind Faith, Cream, you know, there was a lot of Jefferson Airplane, Woodstock, you know. But it was a true special run. But it's a really, I don't have that much to say about it, except it's got really nice pickups. It's really well made. I think that blue flower is Mylar. And I remember Mylar from high school. It's some kind of it's sort of like aluminum foil or something, only super thin. And I remember we used Mylar in our high school production of The Wizard of Oz. And people making jokes about the name, hey, that's Mylar, not your lar, or something like that, but just stupid kind of high school jokes. But I think that's Mylar, the flowers, and then they, you know, kind of with the blue finish. It's a polyester finish. I don't know, is that different than polyurethane? It's a polyester finish. And it's got a clear pick guard. Now, I have seen a couple that, I don't know if it was swapped out, but people put a white pick guard or another pick guard on there. But I guess the idea was you've got those flowers on there, you want the clear pick guard. So I think that the clear pick guard is a good aesthetic choice for the guitar. But it's just really well made, especially for the price I paid. You know, they've got some custom shop blue flowers, I think, you know, some the fancier ones. And I don't know, maybe they're a little, you know, but the pickups are really nice. It's got good intonation. The tuners, it seems to hold its tune really well. I actually have this one set up with 11s right now for playing slide. So I made it my slide guitar. You know, sometimes I regret putting those 11s on there. just because I think, 11s are sometimes really good for rhythm, but they kind of make it a little harder to play, and I sometimes think they take away some of your sustain and the kind of sponginess. But I have 11s on there. They tend to be good for slide, although sometimes I'd like to think about going back to 10s. But really nice. It's got these vintage slotted tuners. As a matter of fact, I was going to play a little bit of it live, and I was making some clips for this video, like playing some Blue Flower slide and things. And right as I got done wrapping up, it broke the high E string. So, and that points to one of the issues. It's got these vintage slotted tuners, and I hate tuning. I can't change strings with those things. So I'm going to take it into the music and art store near our house. I don't think they work with guitars much, but they do change strings and little things like that. They're nice. So I'll probably get it changed out here because it's unplayable now. But I did some kind of fill-in gigs, rock and roll gigs last year. And this is the guitar I was using quite a bit because it has really good intonation and it's super good for 60s music, and it has the 1969 feel sound, and but it's just a very nice guitar. Made in Japan. It's named after the Deep Purple album, I guess, huh? Maybe when I hear, that is kind of a rock and roll phrase, isn't it? Made in Japan, it makes it more rock and roll, Beats crafted in Japan, made in Japan, because you think that's ever since Deep Purple made that great live album, it's got to be one of the great live albums ever. I've got it right back there. One of the, made in Japan, that means rock and roll, But it's a proper telly. And, Guitar Center lists it, they have those little boxes you can check. I think it's listed as an intermediate guitar. But I would definitely say it's a guitar you can play. You can buy and play. Someday I'd like to get the pink paisley. Boy, if someone was questioning my masculinity for having blue flowers, I didn't really question the pink paisley, except for the fact that the pink paisley is actually kind of a more famous guitar, I would say. For me, James Burton played that pink paisley with Elvis. You gonna make fun of Elvis now? But looking back on it in 2016, I bought this around late 2016 or 17. I decided I was kind of seeing it around, and I decided I wanted one. And I'm pretty sure it was the last one in the country that you could buy, at least from the main, like Sweetwater, all the main kind of online places. I don't know if there was a mom and pop shop somewhere that still had one, but they were sold out at Sweetwater, and Guitar Center had like 2 left, and I bought one and then the other one, and the other one had kind of rubbery action. I think it was how it was set up. I don't think there was anything wrong with the guitar, but this one came and it just had really kind of buoyant resonance when you play. And when you buy an electric guitar, it's always good to play it acoustically, I think, because sometimes, everything sounds good if you're playing it through a great amp, got all these, pedals and things on it, it's going to sound better. And you want to see how it plays, and just play it bare naked, with nothing is the way you do that. And this one, definitely in the store. And I said, I'll even pay for shipping or whatever, but I want this one. And even though it was damaged, this is the one that had the. But the guy at Guitar Center marked it down. So I paid $9.99, and I think he gave it to me for $700, like $6.99. If you think about it, that's a pretty big ding to buy a new guitar with that. Even if I were bought it used and it had that in there, that would definitely lower the value. I don't have any intention of selling this guitar at all, but I imagine if I tried to sell it, that would lower the value. Although, like I said, these guitars I think are kind of collectible more than some of the other guitars I have. Maybe I mean, it's because it was a special run. But it's a very nice guitar. Fender Japan definitely makes some great guitars. Thanks. God bless.